Hello, welcome to this video, and this video is going to be called Why I Do Top 10s. Why I do ranking videos, right? This does trouble me a lot because I make a lot of ranking videos, and those videos by far are the ones that get the views. So if you're asking me why I do them, it's because they get the views. That is the reason why. And I felt I need to come on here and state that. I think the reason why they get the views is because there's something incredible about music and art. And what it is that art and music, for me, when it's good, is a balance between chaos and order. It's a balance between perfectionism and hedonism, right? It takes these two aspects, and it's a balance between the subjective and the objective. It's a balance between your personal view and the view of the world. And it's a place, art is a place where we can check that. And so there's always a big discussion going on within the art, and that's what art does. Art is that discussion. It's your personal viewpoint against the viewpoint of humanity. And it's the negotiation between those two. And I think that's why top 10s are so compelling, because say if you like progressive rock, or you like jazz rock, or you like jazz, and I come on and I'm in a position where I'm a musician, I've worked in the progressive rock world, I'm a drummer, you know, so that's my take. And I think that's interesting to punters. They're like, well, Andy plays the drums, he's sort of got an inside view perhaps of the music, but he's also a big music fan, so he's like us. And people want to see how my personal taste lines up with their personal taste, which will then form this unified view, because that is what the music does. If you like music, it's that thing that I think is what you like. It's going, I like this, I like these things about the world, I put this album on, and this band is also doing the same thing, and I chime in what they're saying. They have a view of the world that chimes with me. So when I do a top 10, you get in the comments people agreeing with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I do. And they enjoy that, because they've got an idea of what they think the top 10 should be, and then if mine lines up, it chimes with them. If I don't include something that they like, then they feel that worldview is slightly wrong. Right, and then you go, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because you didn't include so and so, you know. I think that discussion is why I make these videos. It's the discussion, right? Now, anybody who watches my channel will know that I lampoon this a little bit, right? There's a sense of humour there, where I will often act like my list is objective, right? Now, the reason I do that is because for me to just go on and say, here's my personal list, right, is denying the fact that I haven't done that. When I did my top 10 progressive rock double albums, which I've just released, you know, a couple of days ago, on that I put The Wall by Pink Floyd. For me, it had to be on the list. I'm not a massive fan of that album. I've hardly listened to it. I think I've only listened to it once, and that was years ago. So you can tell that when I'm talking about it. I haven't got that much to say. But objectively, that needs to go on the list, and I know that. I have the ability to go, this is great, you know, Bob Dylan is great. I can't stand listening to him, but he is a great artist, and I know he's great, and he's good. And if someone said, do you think Bob Dylan's good? I go, yeah, but I don't like listening to him. This is the whole point. So what I do is try and include the fact that I myself are trying to balance the objective with the subjective on these lists, and I've done so many of them now, and it's become such a big thing for me that I thought I've got to do this video just to qualify this so people can see my stance. You know, how much views this video will get will be hardly any, you know, because it's not got a clickbaity title. If I put a clickbaity title up, people will then go, oh, he's done a clickbaity title. I recently did a video called, you know, what was it called? Something like why do, you know, modern jazz musicians all sound the same? And there was a lot of people got really irate about that. As I'm not in a position. Of course, there are musicians that have individualism, in the modern jazz scene. And there's quite a few. What I was trying to discuss on that was the fact that there has overall been a diminishment of individuality within jazz. That it's these things aren't cut and dried. I'm never taking a position of being totally there or totally here. But of course, the title has to do that because it has to bring you in. It's a contentious title where we're about to have a discussion, and then we have a discussion. That's what these videos are about. It's the same thing with the top tens, you know. But for the top tens, I think the reason why they work is because you see this discussion of the objective and the subjective, right? And that's a wonderful discussion to have, right? Anyone who watches my channel will know that I have prejudices, and I do, because we all do. And anybody who does this for real and pretends they don't, anybody who pretends that they have an all-encompassing knowledge of all music and they've listened to everything and they can objectively go through all the millions of progressive rock albums and come out with the best, you know, the best is probably some album that nobody's heard of. Somebody's made some little album somewhere, and whatever we're discussing, that probably is the greatest artistically, but nobody knew, you know. But we have to take that into account, and I do. Right, so I want to discuss a little bit of how I come up with these top 10 lists, right? Because I don't just come out the top of my head. But the first thing I do is just to pull them up the top of my head. So say I was doing, and I haven't done this, but say I was doing the greatest progressive rock singers, okay? So I'm going to show you this process on this video. So as soon as I've said that, John Anderson has crept into my head, right? As soon as I said that, I haven't planned this video, so you know me, I'm just talking to you and I'm, you know, just free associating to you. So I didn't know I was going to do this. So here I am, I've just decided here now to come up with the top 10 progressive rock singers. The first person that comes into my head is John Anderson, right? The second person that just came into my head was Greg Lake. Now Greg Lake's not one of my favourite progressive rock singers, but he's got such a key voice in progressive rock. He sang on, you know, 20th Century Schizoid Man. Right, so then I would write those down. So what I'm pulling down now is just my gut feeling, and that is all my personal taste. And that would be the first list that I would come up with. The second thing I then take to account is popularity. What by popularity, I don't mean people have had hit records. What I'm saying is what do other people like? You know, I'll think, well, you know, what bands don't I really, you know, so with progressive rock bands, there's a couple of progressive rock bands I've never really listened to and never floated my boat. For example, Camel is an example. And I can't tell you who the singer of Camel is because I don't know. I've never really listened to them. But then I will go and research that, and I will actually go and listen to try and bring in some other names into that list, you know. That'll be the next thing. So I'm not being entirely subjective. I'm taking in the consensus as well, everybody out there. That's the next thing. The next thing I will then take in is skill. You know, so in terms of skill level, as soon as I've said that, the singer that's coming to my head is Peter Hamill, who I think is a virtuoso singer, capable of doing things with his voice that singers have never done before. So I'm going to add Peter Hamill to this, even though anyone who watches my channel will know I'm not the biggest Van der Graaf Generator fan. So Peter Hamill would go on my list. So we start to get a list. I've got, so now we've got John Anderson, Greg Lake, I've got Peter Hamill. I might consider the lead singer of Camel. Have they even got a singer? I don't know. Then I will then consider innovation. As I say innovation, the singer that comes up to again is Peter Hamill. So now we've got this thing that is not on my radar. This is not me being totally my taste, because I'm not a big fan of Van der Graaf Generator. But Peter Hamill's influence on singing is incredible. Peter Hamill influenced John Lydon. His influence on punk is huge. And he influenced Bruce Dickinson. So his influence on heavy metal singing is huge. That's Peter Hamill. Right? So the last consideration for me is then cultural impact. Singers that have not changed just music, but have changed culture. Okay? Now, as I say that, for me, one of the progressive rock bands that really affects culture is Pink Floyd. They seem to move over into the mainstream so often, you know, and an album like The Wall, as you know, has begat films. Alan Parker's made a film of that, and so that Roger Waters' voice and Dave Gilmour, they would have to then be considered. Now, are they technically great singers? No. So that is the consideration I go through, and I start to pull those together, and then once I've got a list, I then try and order those into where I think they should go. And my criteria for doing that is basically the arguments I'm going to make when I make the video. You know, what the points are that I'm going to make. How am I going to argue it? You know, why, if Peter Hamill's coming up so often, should he be above Greg Lake? And as I'm saying that, I'm going, well, maybe I will. And Greg Lake is just, it's popularity, and he sang on so many famous progressive rock albums. Peter Gabriel is an incredible singer technically, an innovator. Gabriel's going to have to come in. Gabriel might have come in at number 2 below John Anderson. I'm still holding John Anderson because John Anderson, there was the voice that came into my head straight away. That was the one I first thought of. So hopefully we now would have Greg Lake at 4, Pete Hamill at 3, Gabriel at 2, John Anderson at 1. I'm starting to form my list, and I would carry on from there. You often will then, another consideration for my top 10 lists is, I'll think, I haven't spoken about this band, and I love this band. You know, Robert Wyatt is someone I haven't spoken about on the channel. I'm not a huge Soft Machine fan, but I am a huge Robert Wyatt fan, and his English songwriting is absolutely wonderful. So Robert Wyatt needs to be on there. So I'm going to put Robert Wyatt on the list because I can now talk about Robert Wyatt. Not talk about Soft Machine, but, you know, talk about Rock Bottom and Sleep, which is my favourite album by Robert Wyatt. So I'm going to talk about that album because I haven't talked about that. So that would be another consideration. And then I might put something in where you think, well, this singer is progressive rock, but would we class them as progressive rock? Now, as soon as I say that, the singer that comes into my mind is Kate Bush. And as soon as I say Kate Bush, I think, well, Kate Bush is going to have to be high on the list, isn't she? I hadn't considered her because she's an outlier. You know, we don't think it's Kate Bush's prog, but she is prog. So Kate's got to go on the list. Where's she going to go? She's going to go at number 3. So I'm going to put her in underneath Peter Gabriel. Should she go above Gabriel? I think she should. She might have to go at number 2. If I keep talking about Kate Bush, I'm going to stick her at number 1. And that's how I come up with the list. So Kate Bush at number 1. That's going to upset everybody. That's going to make a great video because I have to consider that. I have to consider the story I'm telling and the entertainment value for you watching, that you're going to go and watch that list and go, oh, that was good, and I didn't expect that. I expected that one, and oh, I don't agree with that. That's the experience, because that's the experience you're buying into when you click on a top 10. Now, the trouble with this channel and the shame about it is this type of video where I just chat, and this is just me having a chat, right? There's no clickbaity title I can put on this. This is just me talking about stuff and talking about music. And as much as I like talking about details, and sometimes, you know, I get these things wrong, you know, dates or people, and I can't remember something and all that type of thing. As much as I like to do all that, what I really like to do on this channel is talk about the fundamentals of music and how it works. And anybody watching this video will have seen I've actually explained on here my opinion of what fundamentally makes music work, right? The most motivating thing for a musician, and this has been, I think, psychologically proven, if you're a musician and you want to, you don't feel like practicing and you get up and you think, I don't want to practice today, I don't feel in the mood. The thing that will get you in the mood is music. Music is a motivator. It's a motivator to feelings, it's a motivator to visceral experience, it's a motivator to movement, to dancing. It's a motivator. That's what art is. And it will make you want to get up and practice. It'll make you want to get and play music. If you start listening to music, you want to listen to more music. It's a motivator, right? But what's interesting, the second most motivating thing out there for a musician or a listener is talking about music. And it's a massive aspect of music. It's always been there. People have always sat down the pub and chatted about their favourite albums, their favourite artists. And this is something that Everybody does. Musicians do it, music fans do it. It's a big part of it, and that's motivating, and it's part of the art form. Talking about it is part of it, because that's how art works. That interface between you as an individual and you as a member of the community, that's a really important negotiation. And we all want to know about it. We want to know how we fit in and how our tastes fit in, and we want to know what we like and what we don't like. We want to know what team we belong to. And that team, we know, is pulled together, not like we have in the modern culture by identity. I think that's an awful thing. I think it would be much better if these teams were pulled together with what we liked, our interests. But of course, when you do that, you get a much more horrible position-taking culture. And I think if you look at modern culture now, we have this idea of identity, but identity has been latched on to people who have basically either a left-wing bias or a right-wing bias, and those two arguments are going on all the time. And it shouldn't be an argument, it should be a discussion that is friendly. Now, the realm in which we can do that is the arts, because morality and ethics and all these things, they come from the arts, they come from aesthetics. And this is something that's really, really important. So these discussions are important. So if you feel yourself compelled to watch a top 10 ranking video of your favourite heavy metal albums, this isn't a piece of fluff that's going on. This is you checking your take on the world with somebody else and trying to find that which brings us all together and binds us all together as a whole global community. Oh, that sounded very pretentious, didn't it? But we're talking about prog on this channel, and if you can't let me be pretentious, then what can you do? So anyway, that was I don't think I've got anything more to say on that. That is why I make top 10 videos, which I think is going to be the title of this one. So anyway, if you like me talking like this, if you're one of the hardcore fans who's clicked on this, not just one of the ones who've just clicked on my 10 greatest progressive rock albums, which is the most popular video on my channel. There are actually 2 of those, and they've both done 50,000 views. That's 100,000 views on those 2 videos. It's bonkers. If you are one of the deeper searchers on my channel and you've got to this video, thank you for watching this. And if you want to hear me more of these philosophical ramblings, and they are that, I don't say that I've got any special position, I'm just saying what I think about music from my position. If you like that, please like and subscribe and click the notification bell. And if you really want to support me and come and join my community of patrons where we discuss this stuff more, and the more we have there, the merrier it is, and the more discussions we have, then please consider becoming a patron and clicking on the link below. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you for supporting me, because I know anyone who's got to the end of the video is someone who supports me, so I thank you very much, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.